Russia has shocked the world by unveiling its most advanced robot army yet. These machines are built for battle. They are fast, smart, and deadly. They can fight on land, in the air, and even in dangerous zones where no human soldier can survive. With this powerful tech, Russia may be rewriting the rules of war forever. Other nations are watching closely, and some are already panicking. Now, the real question is, could this be the beginning of a new kind of warfare where robots decide who wins and loses? Join us as we uncover the truth behind this powerful robot army. Russia's latest army. Reports have it that Russia has just launched powerful military robots. This was confirmed by Vitaly Davidov, the deputy director of Russia's advanced research, in a statement released at a press conference. Davidov's remark about the latest Russian military feat is now believed to be seen by foreign observers as an international phenomenon and pattern that seeks to enhance the existing Russian military with new and independent capabilities. Now, as military robots begin to take center stage, one question that keeps coming to mind is, can robots truly replace human soldiers and revolutionize the entire military as we know it? But before we dive into details of Russia's latest military innovation, let's rewind a little as we take a look at Russia's military landscape. Stick around, as this might just be the beginning of what is about to be revealed. The military organization of the Russian Federation is reported to be largely a legacy of the second half of the 20th century. Among Europe's militaries, the Russian situation is hardly unique. It was reported that for more than a decade following the end of the unstable standoff, virtually every former Cold War adversary has been at odds with the emerging new strategic landscape. There were reports of at least three important distinctions. Firstly, the situation in Russia was seen to differ fundamentally from the situation in the West because the change in the international order coincided with the collapse of Russia's domestic political, economic, and value systems. Secondly, Russia is believed to differ from its former Warsaw Pact satellites because from the beginning it had few prospects for early integration into Western institutions such as NATO. Thirdly, Russia is unlike any of the newly independent states of the former Soviet Union precisely because it is not a growing state. This was believed to be the reason why they did not have the option of creating a defense system from scratch. Russia entered the post-Cold War period saddled with an outdated, heavy military machine. Russia's historical outline reportedly made it clear that any attempt to radically reform Russia's military organization cuts to the core of the nation's identity. A further complication is that military reform is but one aspect of post-Soviet Russia's massive transformation agenda. On the surface, the Russian military has reportedly undergone many major changes. The Soviet army, which was suddenly denied the state and had vowed to serve, was peacefully dismantled in the year 1991 to 1992. Few exceptions among them was reportedly the Black Sea Fleet, Ukraine, and Belarus, which successfully claimed ownership of Soviet assets on their territory. On the other hand, Central Asians reportedly inherited most of the assets of the local Soviet infrastructure. Forces in the Caucasus, Moldova, and the Baltic states, as well as in the former East Germany, also came under Moscow's jurisdiction. In May 1992, the armed forces of the Russian Federation were legally formed. They reportedly counted 2.73 million servicemen out of the almost 4 million man-strong Soviet army. The strategic nuclear forces were at that time still at their all-time Cold War high and, although under Moscow's control, were deployed in 4 newly independent states. By January 2004, it was reported that the Russian military's authorized strength had reduced to 1,132,000. Russian forces had withdrawn from East Germany, Central and Eastern Europe, the Baltic states, Azerbaijan, and Mongolia. Those small garrisons were believed to still remain in a few countries of the Commonwealth of Independent States. As of today, reports have it that the nuclear arsenal concentrated exclusively in Russia is steadily shrinking. Psychologists, often aided by Russian Orthodox priests, are said to have replaced communist political officers. As it stands, the Russian armed forces is widely believed to be a scaled-down, much battered version of the Soviet military. Throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, they reportedly experienced tremendous decay, but remained surprisingly resilient. Although not a total failure, the Russian military has thus far failed to adapt to the new economic environment at home and the new strategic environment abroad. Now, with the current state of the Russian military landscape, the question everyone is asking is, could this be the reason why army robots were developed? And how could they possibly change the entire military industry? Brace up for far more exciting revelations that will blow your mind. Russia's Army of Robots. On April 21, 2025, Davidov was reported to have told RIA Novosti that living fighters will gradually begin to be replaced by their robotic counterparts, who can act faster, more accurately, and more selectively than people. Now, the Russian army reportedly has dozens of types of land, air, surface, and underwater combat robots in varying degrees of readiness. Reports have it that many of them are already taking part in tests and drills. Viktor Murakovsky, a leading Russian military expert and editor-in-chief of Arsenal of the Fatherland magazine, boldly claimed that no other army in the world possesses a variety of uncrewed vehicles and drones as Russia, and it looks set to only increase. It was reported that Russia and its strategic ally Belarus held the large-scale Zapad 2021 exercises in September last year. During the main phase of the exercises, 3 types of aircraft, namely Forepost, Lastochka, Inokodes, and 2 versions of combat robots, Uran-9 and Nerekta, reportedly attacked a hypothetical enemy. On the other days, Platform M robots armed with machine guns and grenade launchers were also revealed. It was reported that the Zapad 2021 drills were the first experiment in the use of ground robots in the same formation as humans. Coordinating with motorized rifle units, uncrewed Uran-9s and Nerektas attacked and destroyed various targets. The larger and heavier Urans reportedly fired guided missiles at enemy armored vehicles. The robots also provided covering fire for human maneuvers on the training battlefield. The Uran-9, which is currently regarded as Russia's largest robot, is a medium-class complex. It has a characteristic jug-eared appearance due to the launchers located on the sides. The combat vehicle is armed with a 30mm automatic cannon, Ataka anti-tank guided missiles, and Shmel flamethrowers. It reportedly weighs up to 12 tons, a little less than the BMP-2. Another Russian military robot is the Midars. This is a 4-wheeled robot outfitted with several cameras, radar, and possibly a firearm that automatically performs random or pre-programmed patrols around a military base or other government installation. It alerts a human overseer when it detects movement in unauthorized areas or other programmed conditions. The operator can then instruct the robot to ignore the event, take over remote control to deal with an intruder, or to get better camera views of an emergency. The robot is believed to regularly scan radio frequency identification tags placed on stored inventory as it passes and report any missing items, but that's not all. Another Russian military robot is the XM-1219 armed robotic vehicle. It is an unmanned ground combat vehicle based on the MULE platform. The Arval Mule vehicle features integrated anti-tank, anti-personnel, intelligence, surveillance, and target acquisition systems remotely operated by network-linked soldiers. The autonomous rotorcraft sniper system is another experimental robotic weapons system being developed by the US Army since 2005. It consists of a remotely operated sniper rifle attached to an unmanned autonomous helicopter. It is intended for use in urban combat and for several other missions requiring snipers. A whole host of other Russian drones and robots are said to be in development. Among the offensive uncrewed aerial vehicles are the Altius, Okhotnik, Sirius, and Carnivora programs, the Platforma helicopter drones, the Molniya group use system, and others. The weapons-carrying ground robots will reportedly be joined in the future by the heavy Sturm and medium-sized Soratnik systems, marker robots, and probably even the Armata uncrewed tank. With Russia's robotic technologies, one can't help but ask, what does the future hold for the Russian military? Hold on, because the best part is coming. Russia's current and future robotic developments. Reports have it that all the unmanned aerial vehicles Russia has in service are remote-controlled, with several vehicles aspiring to greater operational autonomy. It was noted by Russian defense officials that small UAVs are key to current and future operational success. They point out the growing evolution of UAVs from reconnaissance roles to EW, relaying communications, delivering supplies, and providing target designations to ultimately conducting autonomous strikes. Looking ahead, the priorities for the military unarmed aerial vehicle is development, which include introducing elements of AI into the drone control system and integrating UAVs into a common airspace with manned aircraft, along with the development of UAV swarms. Drones like Aileron 3, Orlan 10, and 4-Post are now reportedly integrated into the Defense Ministry's observation strike and fire contours, which ensures that data on the ground, surface, and aerial environment is acquired in real time, most notably in Russian operations in Syria. In particular, electronic warfare reportedly has become one of the key areas for UAV use. Most notable in this field is the Lear 3 complex, which incorporates an Orlan 10 UAV with a range of up to 120 kilometers for cell tower hijacking and mobile communications jamming. This drone-borne system was sighted in Ukraine, was used in Syria, and today is widely involved in electronic warfare training in the Russian armed forces. In Syria, Moscow used UAVs around the clock for the first time in 2015, convincing the Defense Ministry that drones constitute an essential element of modern combat. Today, military UAVs are reported to be present across the entire Russian military force structure, with drone companies embedded in motorized rifle, tank brigades, divisions, and separate brigades. Observation has shown that there are unmanned units in the artillery, engineer sapper, missile, reconnaissance, and railway brigades, with UAV squadrons also having been formed in the aerospace forces. Each combined arms army, brigade, and division has 2 drone platoons for every UAV company, equipped with several drones with ranges between 10 and 120 kilometers. This structure is replicated across the airborne forces and naval infantry, with UAV companies present in the Northern and Pacific fleets. The Defense Ministry plans to organize long-range heavy drone units into individual observed aviation squadrons. To meet the growing military demand, Russian UAV developers are actively pursuing multiple projects that involve quadcopter, multi-rotor, helicopter type, fixed wing, and other designs. In line with the overarching theme that military autonomy is supposed to save human lives, concept intelligence, surveillance, and drones are being developed to replace the crude ISR aircraft in service today. Swarming and AIR-DT&E are being actively pursued. For example, within the Molniya concept, which involves launching multiple jet-powered stealth drones from crewed and uncrewed platforms to conduct aerial and ground strikes and to provide EW and reconnaissance capabilities. While Syria became a massive testing ground for Russia's short-range drone fleet, the lack of UAVs capable of striking targets at long range was acutely felt, as the military had to scramble crewed aviation for attack missions, potentially putting pilot lives in danger. This recognition is now driving the Defense Ministry's RDT&E of longer-range combat drones. One such significant development is the medium-altitude, long-endurance Orion UAV with a 250-kilometer range, which was finally acquired by the Russian military in late 2020, becoming the first official combat UAV in service. Another combat UAV project is the Altius, which has a range of up to 10,000 kilometers and took to the air in 2019, with a manufacturing and supply contract finally signed by the state in 2021. And that's the wrap on Russia's strongest army of robots. Can they revolutionize the entire military industry? Drop your comments in the comments, smash that like button if you enjoyed the ride, and subscribe for more wild luxury stories from the world of sports and celebrity. Until next time, bye for now.